Right, so today we're going to be looking at Doghouse. Now, Doghouse, you probably haven't heard of it. It's a film came out in 2009 and it's absolutely phenomenal. Now, I absolutely love this film. I've loved it since I was a kid. My dad showed it to me. I always loved Danny Dyer films. I always loved zombie films. Bang, you put them together, you get this. And it's absolute slice of gold, this film. Now, when I say it's amazing, I don't mean it's going to be like an ultra interesting story. It's not going to be deep. The cinematography isn't going to be amazing. The dialogue is perfectly executed. What you're going to get is an hour and a half of pure entertainment. Right, so before we start the film, I'll give you some brief information about it first. It came out in 2009. It was directed by Jake West, who hasn't really done anything else that you would have seen. Now, you might not have heard this film before, but don't worry. Doghouse came out in 2009 and performed like dog shit. Oh, I'm sorry, that was bad. It had a £4 million budget and barely even made 500,000 back from it. And it got low scores from critics. It got 6 out of 10 on IMDb, which is, I guess, okay for IMDb. Got 45% user score on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, Snake Out of Compton got more thin that. But Google users come in to save the day and they correctly judged the movie, it seems. A lot of the poor reviews came from the film being called misogynistic and sexist. But I mean, I don't really see it that way. It's just, I'm not even going to get into it. As a pretty recognisable cast, we've got Danny Dyer as Neil, Noel Clarke as Mickey, also I say Ricky.
I bet you don't even remember my name. Ricky. It's Mickey. No, it's Ricky.
Stephen Graham as Vince, Neil Maskell as Banksy, you probably know from...
Where is Jessica Hyde?
Oh, and I forgot to mention, Bill Murray's actually in this film too. Not that one, this one. Anyway, the film was based on 7 lads who planned to get a little getaway together because one of them, Vince, is going for a rough divorce right now. So we're going to go on a getaway to take his mind off it. So they're going to this little town where Mickey's nan lives, where apparently the women outnumber the men 4 to 1.
Oh. And obviously they're all gagging for it.
Obviously.
But what they don't know is all the women in the town have turned to zombies. And these zombies aren't the boring, slow-growing zombies. These zombies actually use weapons and even their own bodies as weapons and will even fight each other over food. Right, you ready? Let's go. Movie starts with Vince waking up from what looks like a wank and takeaway binge. We then see each of their mornings, most of them consisting of a domestic, apart from Matt, who's arguing with a child.
How many times do I have to tell you? They are not zombies!
Alright, calm down.
And then we get a cute montage.
Bastard.
Oh, you bastard! Bastard! Bastard!
So I guess you could say each of these boys are in the doghouse. Well, except Vince since he's divorced and Matt since his girlfriend can't talk. So the boys all meet up and they arrive at the Old King's Head. And then once we're in the pub, we oh shit, what would you say this is? The theme song? The titles? Shit.
Then this banger comes on.
Alright, yeah, that works for me. And once we're in the pub, we get this absolute banger playing. And after a montage of the boys laughing and harassing women in the pub, we learn about Banksy. And we see Banksy's morning, where he's locked himself out. Not a good start for him. Patrick shows the boys his ball bag, and then their bus driver, Ruth, arrives, and after a little bit of misogyny...
What's your name, babe?
I can tell you now it's not babe.
It's going to be a long drive, is it?
The boys get on their way. But on the way to the bus, Neil makes sure to let everyone know.
I'll tell you what, women love me.
So once they're on the bus and they're on their way, they wonder what Banksy is up to. And we see that he's managed to get his car working, but without the keys, he didn't seem to get very far.
What? He's fucked.
Ruth sheds some light on Vince's situation real quick.
You're the one who's getting divorced, aren't you? Just worse things than getting divorced. Rape, murder, castration.
What a bundle of joy she is. And then we get a brief moment to see Patrick chilling in the bus before it suddenly comes to a dead stop due to a sheep in the road. Well, a dead sheep. They swiftly move the sheep out of the way and Vince gets a call from his ex-wife about the divorce papers. Then Mickey also gets a call from his girlfriend. So Neil decides to take everyone's phones away and they all get back on the bus. Also, I don't know how you can call this film sexist when Neil does this.
Ladies first.
He offers Candy to get on the bus first, which is like, that's gentleman-like.
Definitely not the look of a rash or anything.
So, the boys arrive in Moodley. And, to be honest, they don't seem very happy about it.
Please tell me you took a wrong turn.
We're in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Either way, they march off into town, and Mikey sends one over the boys' heads. As they get further into town, they realise that it's pretty empty there.
Looks like the old village has called the builders in and fucked off with you now.
So Neil asks the important question.
Where's all the women then?
Then the others go off into the cock and bull. All of them except Mickey, who goes off to find a way into his nan's house, and Matt, who goes off to go get Ruth from the bus. While on his way, Matt goes off on a little wander and discovers a shop called the Burning Witch. Foreshadowing? Maybe. And he looks in the window of the shop and he sees a mummified penis in the box. Or as better said by Danny Dyer,
It's a knob in a box.
and then that's when we get our first look at Megna. That's generally her name, by the way. Now, if you wonder who Megna is, she's like, I don't know, like running for the town's MP or something. She's really not important. Meanwhile, Neil goes to the toilet and sees a woman who had a few too many Jaegers.
fuck.
And then once back at the bar, he gives the best explanation for the smell of rotten flesh I think I've ever heard. That's when he said it's because of the smoking ban. I just don't know what it is, man. I love that, though. Yeah, it's smoking ban, isn't it, mate? You can smell the pub really smell like now because the fags aren't in the air. So while the boys at the pub helping themselves a drink, Mickey is off hunting for the key to his nan's house. And he eventually finds it under a gnome, but close by, we see the first zombie of the movie.
This isn't a joke, right?
And I still would, personally. I don't know about you.
I would.
We then cut to the boys who have left the pub, and they're walking down the street and they witness what they think is a soldier beating up a hobo. They then obviously jump in to try and help the woman, and during the scuffle, Neil gets stabbed in the hand by the woman they're trying to help. The woman then starts slashing her knife at the boys, and Mickey pops out of nowhere and smashes her over the head. After all that noise, all the zombies finally decide to come out into the streets, and the boys flee back to the bus.
What action, man?
But once they're back at the bus, they find out that Ruth has already turned into a zombie.
Yeah. Okay.
So, because the bus isn't usable anymore, they decide to run back down towards town, but all their exits get cut off.
Let's take the scenic route.
So they take the back gardens to Mickey's nan's house. And on the way, they find, well, this. Somehow, this guy's still alive too. Never mind. Anyway, so they manage to get back into Mickey's nan's house, and we get some absolute fine acting from Graham.
They're moving away.
It's good throughout the whole film, yeah, but it's just that one bit, mate. It just does me every time I see it. Then Action Man wakes up.
You fucking retarded.
They all have a cup of tea, and he gives us some info on what's going on. So he explains to them that all the women in town have turned into zombies, and his reasoning.
Just luck.
And he also informs them that all the zombies are out in the woods, which doesn't really make sense since later on in the film we see they've actually just got a nest of bodies where they can feast from, so I don't really understand that.
So, how many are there?
The whole village has gone over to the dark side. Most of them are out there in the woods.
Because they can't just walk out of the village where all the zombies in the woods, they decide they need to find a way to get Ruth off the bus so they can just drive it out there. And they go and gather up near the van, and they decide that someone's going to have to lure her out. And they pick Neil, and they've got good reasoning for it.
Why are you so sure she's going to follow me?
Women love you.
Neil successfully lures her away, and the boys hop onto the bus. But of course, we're only like 20 minutes in. Obviously, it isn't that simple. The zombies are on the bus. So they all run off the bus, but on their way, Patrick falls, and he is left behind, so he's forced to run and climb up a billboard. The boys run back into the town centre, while Patrick has his billboard slowly hacked away, and the boys then get into a little scrapping with the zombies. And during this little fight, Patrick grabs a pipe and starts launching down golf balls like an absolute legend. Seriously, his accuracy is on point.
Hole in one!
After the boys and the zombies fight for a little bit, the zombies turn at each other briefly.
I think we should start placing bets.
My money's on that one.
The boys then use this as a chance to get away, leaving Patrick up on the billboard completely alone. That's a violation of the borough code, I think.
Yeah.
We then see Neil, and he is still running away from Ruth, but it looks like she's no longer following him, so he takes a minute to get some breath and receives a little spanking. He then gets away from that zombie, and then on his way down into a house, he pelts the bolt an old lady. Right, and then Matt and Vince get locked in a toy shop, and they start looking for weapons.
Did you lock that?
So as the zombie starts breaking in, Matt sets the zombie's arm on fire with some fluid from the RC car. The other three have ended up in a clothes shop, and Mickey is jump scared by a secret shopper. Then Action Man plugs the secret shopper in the head.
Now! You decide to shoot someone, you fucking monkey's arse ring!
We then cut back to Matt and Vince, and Matt has come up with a plan. He's going to use an RC car to get a radio across to the others so they can talk. So they get the RC car, they put it outside, and they drive over to the other shop, even nutmegging a zombie on the way.
So, what's the plan?
Then Mickey comes up with a plan. His plan? Well, he suggests they put a head on an RC car and use it as bait while he goes off and tries to get into one of the army vehicles. He finds a truck and attempts to get inside, but obviously a military vehicle isn't the easiest thing to get into.
Don't get the better of me.
After some drifting, the car flips and then the girls have a little munch and then waddle down to Mickey. So Mickey decides to run into a butcher's shop, but when he gets inside, he realises that it was not empty. I'm sorry, but this zombie in particular, I don't know what it is, fucking scares the shit out of me. We then cut back to Matt and Vince, and we see what they're up to. We then see that they've got themselves some makeshift flamethrowers. Well, one of them's a makeshift flamethrower.
It'll make you feel sexy.
So they run out of the shop, ready to fight, not realising that the gas is literally leaking from their guns as they leave, and immediately as they get out the door, they're surprised by Big Tits McGee, and they set her ablaze. But this also leads to the trail of fuel coming from the water gun to be set on fire, blowing up the entire toy shop. Mickey gets really lucky as the butcher decides to throw him out the window rather than actually killing him, and he runs back into the clothes shop. Matt and Vince get up from the explosion and run off to the church. Once in the church, Matt and Vince find some weird lab in the back of the church. Now the problem is, the others need to find a way to try and get across to the church. So their plan is to go the Shaun of the Dead route, but tweak it a little bit, and rather than dressing up like zombies, they're going to dress up like women. And we see that Patrick's time's finally up on the billboard as it's cut down. He hobbles away as quickly as he can and gets his club and smacks the shit out of the bride zombie. Patrick then regroups to the guys over at the church.
Right, guys.
So you're probably thinking, where's Neil been this whole time? I haven't seen him in a while. Well, after he booted that ball, that old lady, he went inside the house and was immediately knocked out. And then we get what should be one of the most iconic scenes in cinema history. Honestly, this scene's amazing. It's what stuck with me my whole life. And this scene's going to stick to you. I wish I could play it its entirety, but I can't. Neil has been tied down to a chair with a nice finger cake laid out in front of him. But it seems that the cake must have gone stale because this woman wants some fresh fingers on top of it. But Neil does try to charm his way out of this situation.
You're so sexy, Joe.
But, you know, on zombies doesn't really work.
No, don't do that, no.
Neil then has to watch his own finger being eaten, and as she goes back down for more, Neil gets free and gets a little bit of revenge. He then runs out the door and straight into the horde of zombies outside waiting for him. This guy really can't catch a break. So he goes back inside and heads up to the rooftops, but he's not there for long as he drops through the roof and right into mealtime for these three lovely young ladies. But then they all start fighting over their food, and he uses this as an opportunity to get out of the room. He gets downstairs and rejoins, and now all the boys are finally back together again. Well, apart from Banksy, he ain't showed that yet still. So once all the boys are in the church, they all sit down and they all start discussing probably the most important thing that would be on their minds right now.
What about one of the others? You would, wouldn't you?
Anyway, Graham puts them in check,
I can't believe I'm hearing this. You people have no respect for women.
and Matt gets the computers working and they get a video call. The video call's from Megna, who we saw earlier, and the conversation leads to nothing. As I said, she's not important to this movie. So she hangs up the phone call and then the computers self-destruct. After this, an alarm goes off, which is letting us know that the zombies now going through phase 2.
What's phase 1?
Good question. I'll let Action Man explain that.
Sickness, disorientation, psychosis. Phase 2 is a mutation. They ever get smarter, faster, and weirder.
He explains to them that he has a device which emits a sound at a frequency only women can hear that will impair them.
Well, stop talking and press the button.
But then when he presses the button, it doesn't really seem to do anything. And then while they're all talking, Action Man gets cut right at the spine. So for the first time in this movie, Matt steps up and cracks her skull in. I like how the first zombie that he stands up to is a frail little old lady as well. After caving her skull in, Matt walks off to go and get a bit of air. So Vince follows him in, and as he walks through the door, he sees that Matt has been grabbed by the burnt witch and is stabbed. So the boys crowd onto her, pin her down, and stab her back. And then our boy Banksy finally decides to show up, cracking open a beer as he walks into the village, expecting to find his mates in the pub probably plastered by now. So the boys are looking for a different way out of the church as the bride and the hairdresser zombie are both trying to break down their front door, and they find a door which leads down some stairs. And once they're down these stairs, they walk down a corridor which is absolutely covered in blood, and they find this massive pit. And yeah, I have to say, these girls have built up a pretty impressive collection. So the boys run back up the way they came. They run up into a room and block off the door. They jump out a window onto a little roof. And as they get out there, they're greeted by Banksy. It's finally shown up, and we get my favourite line from the entire film.
You would not believe the shit day I've had.
So they send him off to go get a ladder so that he can get down. So they send Banksy off to go get a ladder. Once Banksy comes back a ladder, he then starts climbing up the ladder.
What are you doing? Vince said get a ladder. So we can get down, you plank, not so you can get up.
So then the boys explain to him what's going on, and he says the most reasonable thing when being told this.
You lot been taking drugs?
And after that, he says the next most reasonable thing.
You got some left?
So they quickly start climbing down the ladder, but instantly regret that. So they pull the ladder up and they put it across the building so they can all start making their way across. Also, I just want to point out, Patrick, there's no way you got across the ladder going that way. So once they all start getting across the ladder, that Big Berth murder, yeah, she pops back up, she breaks down the door, and poor Graham, it's just over. Once they all get down, Vince asks Banksy where he's parked his car, obviously expecting him to have that van from earlier. But when they turn out to see where he's parked, they see it's actually just a two-seater rental.
What are you saying? I'll sit on someone's lap. I don't mind.
Shut up, forget it.
Patrick then speaks too soon.
Because I tell you now, I am not going to fucking die in this shithole.
And is violently stabbed about 50 odd times. And the others flock back to the bus. And then, very sadly, Banksy is stabbed, but at least he gets a cool kill. I honestly really wish he had more to do with this film, but the part he did have to play was perfect anyway. So, the remaining 3 men get back into the bus, and Vince starts having a midlife crisis.
I'm having a midlife crisis.
What now?
Vince's speech is cut short by a parking ticket, and the boys set off on their way, taking the off-road route and splattering that fat bird from earlier on their way. And then they drive off into the sunset.
But wait! There's more!
So there's actually about 10 minutes more film here where they go back for Graham, and then when they go back for him, they get him in a trolley, and all the zombies come out and they run away from them, but it's a pretty boring part of the film, so I thought I wouldn't bother covering it. So yeah, that's the film. I really hope you enjoyed my video on it. If you made it this far, generally really do appreciate you making it this far. Now, I also think you should probably go and watch this film because my video is not doing it justice. I just can't capture how good this film is in the video. I can't use long enough clips and I can't show you enough dialogue to show you how funny the film really is. But yeah, that's all for today. This is my first video, so if it's not the best, then, you know, keep that in mind. Let me know what I can improve on in the comments, and maybe I'll see you next week.